sharing this, right? Like, hey, the shayateen exist, they're spooky, they can harm men, they can do bad stuff to mankind. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them that power. You know what I mean? And he gave that power a limit. And he says it in the Quran. He says it. This is the verse. He says, Inna ibadi laysa laka alayhim sultan illa man ittaba'aka min al-ghawin. Surah Al-Hijr, verse 42. Verily, you will have no power over my slaves except those misguided ones who choose to follow you. Al-Hijr, verse 15, chapter 15, verse 42. So it even says it explicitly that you don't have the power to come to, just like how, the singer said, that Kesha said, she said in the thing, like the guy asked her, why do you think it happens to you? And she says, well, because I'm really open to them. I'm really open to the supernatural. There's another story, like you have to give in to their power. And to give in to them, you have to do things that displease Allah. So vice and sin and corruption and whatnot. And so it says, there's a story narrated by Al-Hasan al-Basri. I believe this is one of the Isra'iliyat as well, because it doesn't say narrated this book of hadith or anything. It says, Al-Hasan said, there was a tree which was worshipped instead of Allah. A man came to it and said, I will surely cut this tree down. He came to cut it down out of anger for the sake of Allah, but Iblis came to him in the form of a man and said, what do you want? He said, I want to cut down this tree which is worshipped instead of Allah. He said, if you don't worship it, what harm did those who worship it do to you? He said, I will certainly cut it down. The Shaitan said to him, shall I tell you about something that is better for you? Don't cut it down, and you will find 2 dinars by your pillow every morning, 2 gold coins. He said, who's going to give me that? He said, I will give it to you. So he went back, and the next morning he found 2 dinars by his pillow, but the following morning he did not find anything. He got up angry and went to cut down the tree. The Shaitan appeared to him in the same form and said, what do you want? He said, I want to cut down this tree which is being worshipped instead of Allah. He said, you're lying. There is no way that you can do that. He went to cut it down, and the Shaitan threw him to the ground and started strangling him until he almost killed him. He said, do you know who I am? I am the Shaitan. The first time you came, it was because you were angry for the sake of Allah, and I had no means against you. But when I deceived you with the 2 dinars, you left the tree alone. When you came back because you were angry about the dinars, I was able to gain power over you. It also says the shayateen also fear some of mankind, the slaves of Allah, and flees from them. The Prophet ﷺ said to Umar bin Khattab one time, the shaitan is certainly afraid of you, O Umar. And he can see the devils among the jinn and humankind running away from Umar. By the one in whose hand is my soul, no devil sees you walking along a path, but he takes a different path. This is also talking to Umar. And then he also says in another hadith that the Prophet said, the believer can seize the forelock of his devil as one of you seizes the forelock of his camel while traveling. The meaning by that is that he can defeat him and overwhelm him, just as it's done with a camel when it runs away, that you seize it and overpower it. So it's not like they have infinite power. You know what I mean? It's not like they walk around, they could do what they want with us. They don't, they're not allowed unless you open up to them, unless you let them in. And there's certain ways to let them in. And that's, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's called